So, what is it about network without borders, spectrum without bounds?
So Networks Without Borders and Spectrum Without Bounds is about looking at networks in a new way. So it's about thinking of networks as something that are composed from a whole pool of resources and composed in response to a service need. So when I say the borders are removed, I think the borders between different networks who are owned by different people and between different resources are removed, and that the resources in the network are kind of pooled. Some resources are exclusive resources, some are shared resources. They're in a pool, and that you select the resources you need to deliver the service you want.
So, what is the operator's position in this scenario then?
So I think the operators do this a little bit already. So when you think of what's happening, when you think of the traditional mobile network operator and the way they use Wi-Fi and they offload to Wi-Fi, they're kind of breaking down the boundaries between traditional mobile network operators and Wi-Fi. And as Networks Without Borders are kind of pushing that further and thinking more about you have all of this infrastructure and all of these resources. So there could be software or hardware resources, there could be spectral resources, backhaul resources, access points, and thinking of them a bit more collectively and being able to select from a whole range of resources that are available to suit your needs or to deliver the service you want, rather than thinking just from the point of view, my resources and what I own.
So yeah, it's like spectrum without bounds, right? Then you are in favor of unlicensed spectrum for the whole usage?
So the quick answer to that question is no. So when I talk about spectrum without bounds, I don't just mean unlicensed. And in fact, I actually think it's not that useful anymore to talk about licensed or unlicensed. I think it's much more important to think on a continuum of spectrum usage. And I think the technologies we've been developing in the last while, technologies about interference mitigation, technologies to do with massive MIMO, technologies to do with even full duplex, they're allowing us to consume spectrum in different ways. But regulations limit how we consume them. So my argument is there are many ways to consume spectrum, and it's a continuum from licensed to unlicensed. It isn't 2 points. And technology allows us to consume it in all sorts of different ways, but we're limiting that by the choices we make politically and from a regulatory perspective. So when I talk about spectrum without bounds, I'm talking about removing those bounds and allowing people to consume technology in all the possible ways you can.
That's very interesting, actually. One last question. What would be your message to the researchers? Like, where are the innovations in this new paradigm?
So I think it's quite difficult sometimes to find the exact new points within the networking world. I mean, there's so many fantastic things that have been invented already. But for me, I think really it's the combining of issues from the higher layers with the lower layers. So thinking from a service perspective and thinking how the network responds to that service need, and thinking about how you compose that network very, very dynamically, and thinking about the implications then at the RF level. So thinking through holistically, but thinking from a service perspective, I think can open new avenues and new potentials.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.